Alright. So, now we have used the monitor and everything should be good. So, some of what we're going to be using as a point of reference today will be this puppy that I found on Sketchfab. This is a Skull Planes reference that I think is particularly good. It's a nice simplified version of the skull. It has complex forms in it, but it's simple enough that you can use this as something to kind of work with a bit. Feel free to kind of poke around and find some other versions of the skull, some that might be more anatomical and realistic. Although you might want to be careful about picking a skull that might be kind of badly proportioned or kind of lumpy or whatever. This one I think is a good one though. So what I've been mainly doing with this guy and also all the other stuff I have is I have not just him open, but a bunch of other stuff open. So I'm not like strictly copying any one thing. Although I do try to pull from more from one thing than like another thing at a time. And so some of the stuff that I've been pulling from includes stuff like this. This is, I believe, from Gottfried Bomis. I'll actually save that and put that in the Discord chat for you guys to use. But this is a particularly nice frontal view of the skull that kind of breaks things into planes and shows like some interesting rhythms to kind of work off. You can see that there's like a kind of the way that he's simplified some of the rhythms of like the cylinder of the teeth. It kind of is like this cylinder that's like getting smaller and going up into the rhythms of the face itself a little bit. You can actually see some of the rhythms that are being used here on another example. So I can find that real quick. This one here is a really good one, especially for this down here. This one is also by Gottfried Bomis. I will link that one in chat. But as you can see from my drawings here, I've been pulling a great deal from some of these. I'm not strictly copying these. I'm trying to kind of like pull things away from them a little bit. And if you notice, like in my drawings, I'm kind of starting with like the foundation of a Loomis, but not strictly following the Loomis head. Like it's just enough for me to kind of work with the basic ideas of like, because I know like we're to measure the ear from kind of where the bottom of the zygomatic arch here usually falls around near the bottom of the nose, and so on. And I generally know that the side plane of the head is going to be kind of flat. Although if you notice, one of the things I'm doing here, when I started with kind of a Loomis shape, when I did like the chopping off the sides thing, I actually want bulging things outwards, because a skull without flesh on it, it tends to work a little better to not strictly follow a Loomis head where you chop the sides off, and you kind of build off these kind of, see, like you can see the circle here, and then I build off like the angular bits here. Because the skull doesn't have, because like the skull changes shape when you have the muscle on the muscle and skin on it, and so the Loomis head is a little bit more easy to simplify a head with flesh on it. I'll kind of show you what I mean here with some of these previous drawings that I did using a Loomis head as a starting point. These are kind of riffing off some Michael Hampton drawings a bit, without really copying them, but just using his construction that I was doing practice on the other day. This is kind of almost a preview of stuff we'll be getting into later. There's some problems in it, like I have problems with making the front of the face nose too flat and things like that. But like this kind of feels a little bit better for me. But like this is the Loomis head with the sides chopped off kind of thing. So's that. So's this, even though it's profile. But like this isn't. There is a I didn't strictly chop up the size of this. You can kind of argue that I sort of did here because it's like at an angle where it wouldn't really influence this side. But the thing about the LumaSet is it is something to get you oriented, basically. So you aren't necessarily going to be strictly following it all the time. You might be using a shorthand version of it occasionally. I tried to kind of use a little shorthandy version of it, plus some other things here. There's a really flat side to the skull down here. But I mean, you can just play with the planes. The whole point of this is to kind of try to understand the skull, and you're going to be using observation on not just like these drawing instruction things, but of actual skulls. So I'll see if I can bring up some good skull photos that you can use. Oh yeah, that's right. I should probably link the Sketchfab in chat too. Where is it? Or no, wait, it's not there. It's back here. So the Sketchfab is linked in the Discord chat. Let me just check something real quick. Wow, 66 viewers, very nice. Alright, so just as a preview of the homework is kind of continuity of last week, except instead of you're going to still be doing Loomis heads, but I want you to use the Loomis heads as a basis to break down photos of skulls, to find skulls inside of photographs of people's faces, and I want you to do a 5-post turnaround, kind of like what I did here. I've already done my homework. This is what you need to do this week. If you notice in this one right here, like the blue line right here is a copy paste of the symmetry on this side. I just wanted to see like how close I got in the symmetry on the right side here by doing it by hand and eye. So the red is my drawing on this side, the blue is just a copy paste of the symmetry. Yeah. That's the back of the skull. That one's really tricky. You don't necessarily have to put in like all the teeth cylinder stuff like I did here. You can just like really simplify that. But I did it for completeness sake because I'm trying to kind of learn and wrap my head around the tooth cylinder. Like if you notice, I'm kind of using cylinder shapes a little bit to sort of kind of understand it. It's going at the same kind of plane as like the underside of the head would sort of be. This is at a different angle because that's the jaw that's angled down. Even though that is the underside right there. But you can really see it here. And you can really find it, feel it out here in the reference that's on screen. Like there is a cylinder right here for the teeth. Like this is all simplified shapes. There's a lot of like rendering done on top of this, but you can see it a little bit more in something like this. That's more of a boxy shape, but there's still kind of a cylinder. You can simplify it too down there. Let me see. Oops. This is also from Godfrey Bomis. I should probably maybe save this too. There's a page somewhere in here that has a bunch of good stuff. Oh, here we go. This is a Tumblr page I found that has a bunch of Godfrey Bomis stuff on it for the head, and I'm going to link that also in chat. Oops. I hope that is not just the PNG. That's just one PNG, I'm sorry. Yeah, there is a Tumblr somewhere here that I found that has a bunch of good shit on it. I'll see if I can find it. Give me a second. Well, I think it would be better if I just showed you what to look for when it comes to Gottfried Bommes. So Gottfried Bommes is a German teacher of artist anatomy, and basically if you search for any particular topic, you'll come up with a lot of good images. Be warned though, some of these are showing you what not to do, so try to be a little careful about what you're studying from. Although I think you might be safe in the case of the skulls at the very least. But you can see there's stuff like dividing up the skull right here into proportional shapes, different angles of the skull here. You can copy from these, for example. Really simplified lay-in for the skull right here. So this is almost kind of a preview of what we're going to be getting more into next week, by the way. The planes of the face. We're going to be looking at the arrowheads and other things next week. But for this week, we are going to be using... Oh, there's the arrowhead right there. That's what we're going to be studying next week. But yeah, the planes of the head are going to come up a little bit in here when you're going through these. Try to kind of absorb from them, and like stuff that looks like it might be useful for you, simplifying things. And the goal is to try to think about this stuff three-dimensionally, but you're going to be relying this week mainly on your powers of observation, because I want you to engage those first before you get further along into planar stuff per se. I mean, you can still practice planar stuff from these stuff. But I mean, like in terms of an actual like system we're going to be using, like kind of copying from, I kind of want to show you guys I kind of want to let you guys play with and explore and observe the different ways to handle the skull and see how it changes in space and stuff this week. And mind you, I'm not just making this decision to do this at random. This is part of an actual curriculum that I'm following here. Where you start off with Loomis heads, and then you move on to skull drawings from observation, and of course, using example drawings of how artists break down the skull and stuff, but mainly relying on your observation. The most ideal scenario that you could have is if you had a real-life anatomy reference of a skull, like a good skull, not a kind of warped like Halloween store or crappy little itty-bitty plastic warpy thing. If you have one of those that you can draw from in real life, I would strongly suggest doing that as your main homework, because you will be picking up way more observational information from drawing from real life, from a skull sitting in real life, than you will from drawing from like a 3D model and stuff and this stuff. But if you don't have that, you can make do. I mean, like the next best thing would be to I don't know, if you have some action figures or something, maybe try to use it as reference for a head angle pose or something, and then try to construct a skull into it. So, I mean, like the end goal of doing this is to not just like exercise your powers of observation, of course, but to kind of like get a more intuitive understanding of what the skull is, so you can start kind of like shorthanding it, sort of like what I'm doing here. Like, this is a mixture of the Loomis stuff we did last week, plus like my own shorthand, and some of the stuff I was doing before the class, because the stuff I was doing before the class is also my practice. And what we're going to be doing during the class is also going to be more of my practice. So we're going to be doing drawings and draw-overs of existing anatomical skulls for the next, I want to say, like hour and 40 minutes, or whenever I feel like it's ready, we've digested enough at that point, and it's a good point to end. But we'll be getting some good drawing mileage in tonight. But yeah, I mean, like, this is what I'm doing, this not looking at any reference right now, by the way. This is intuitive, right, that I'm doing this demo that's on screen right now. I'm not even looking at anything at the moment. Like, this is coming out of my head based on the practice I was doing beforehand. And this is what I want you guys to be able to start doing, in addition to, of course, to doing directed practice from observation and learning the construction and stuff. I want you, when it comes to memorization of the skull, you will not be memorizing any particular one way of deconstructing it. You will be learning to memorize it from almost visual muscle memory, at least at first. As you start picking up on stuff that becomes helpful to you, then you'll be able to start using that. Like, there's bits and pieces of what I was studying earlier, along with the actual skulls I was looking at for this. So I'm going to bring up some actual skulls. Let me just check something real quick. Make sure everything is... Yeah, that's good. Alright, so... get a nice picture of that intuitive skull I got. So, let's see here. Pinterest usually has good stuff, but Google Image Search hasn't really let me down lately, so let's give a look at that. So, skull, turn around, photo. That might work. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's put that on. So you'll generally find some good shit. This seems pretty good. It's well lit. Good full turnaround. Good full turnaround. This will be good to practice from. Let's save that. This has some possibilities. This one also shows some shattered bits of the skull. We'll get more into anatomy stuff in the future with skulls. Skulls do some very strange things that aren't really immediately obvious, that are kind of fun to learn more about. These are plaster skulls, I believe. Plaster mold model skulls. That one looks like a good one there. That one looks good. Let's try that. Let's try that. I'll try that shortly. This one looks more like kind of like a stylized kind of Halloweenish skull, but it works. There's some weird stuff going on with like this ergonomic arch and stuff, and it's kind of got some like artisty stuff on it. But I mean, this sort of works. Let's hold on to that. That one's a really good page. I've actually studied from this page before. And I believe I've studied from models of that exact same skull before in real life. So this is the kind of skull you would want to pick up, a plastic skull you would want to pick up for your own study purposes. I think we got enough to work with for now, so I'll just join this stuff. Just for fun, I'm going to bring up a animal skull real quick for some comparative anatomy. So, let's say like, give me an animal, just like your basic animal. Like dog, horse, tiger, mouse, whatever. Bear. Okay, bear skull. Bear skull. Turn around. Not really getting anything useful there. Okay, let's try tiger skull. Turn around. Actually, let's try comparative anatomy animal human. Comparative anatomy animal human skull. I don't see any diagrams per se, but there is this, which is somewhat useful, I suppose. It's better if we found an illustration that compares it, but you can see, like, so an animal's An animal's skull is essentially just a really, really distorted version of a human skull. They still have a zygomatic arch. Their eye structure is a little different. They often tend to have like a little gap there where there's like cartilage there that would keep the eye in place. They obviously tend to have a lot longer jaws and teeth than we do. Big longer snoot, and but I mean, like, there's the brain case right there. We have got big old brain case for our big old brains. Their skulls tend to be kind of like strangely shaped compared to ours, which seem to like follow more like that weird circle shape that we have. But there are ways to break down how animal skulls work that go down to more geometric shapes. But I just wanted to. Oh yeah, here's a chimpanzee versus human. So chimpanzee's got some more of our traits, but still very animalish. But definitely in the chimpanzee case, you can see much more of how an animal is just a distorted human face, and then you can see some more comparative anatomy that happens in the legs and arms. We might, at some point in the future, I want to get to an animal anatomy, animal drawing class, beyond like that little workshop we did once, where we actually can dig more into this kind of stuff. But I just want to give a little taste right now. So, back to skulls. Alrighty, so let's maybe yoink some reference, and I can put that on screen here. Just hold on to that, dude. So I think the first thing that would be good to do would be to yoink some of the Bomis reference, preferably something I haven't done before, so that we can do a fresh in my head demonstration of some of this. Hopefully I can get a better quality version of this picture. Oops. Wow. It's a lot of Michael Hampton stuff there. Maybe I can search Google for this image and find larger versions of it. It'll still work if it's low resolution. It's going to be a little annoying. That's a little better. There we go. Alright, I'll link that one in chat. I'll also maybe upload the other photos that we're going to be using. Let's see here. Here come the photos. Move that off screen. Here's the Gottfried Bomis reference uploaded to the Discord chat. Let's see. There's another thing I wanted to upload. Well, some of the photos. Wait 1 sec. Yeah, we'll get to the other photos later, but... Alright, so first off, first thing we're going to use will be this guy. I'll just get like that on full screen. This guy's going to be really interesting to practice from. The planes will help you understand a little bit more how to break this down. Okay, let's see here. Let's make sure I get that all the way. Where's my mouse? There it is. Copy image. Let's copy that directly into my Clip Studio, and I'll maybe flip back the focus from the reference image to my demo for this, and then people who want to use the image at home can, let's make sure that this is working. That might work. Okay. For this, more advanced people, I would say definitely it's okay to draw along and take notes or whatever, but at least for this one, like, You might want to watch what I'm doing a little bit for the newer people. Alright, so I'm going to maybe use a cleaner line here. One of my ink pens or something. Alright, so I'm going to do a little draw over of this. Also of these, like right here, like there was one of these I did earlier on another page. There we go. So this one right here was a draw over of Bomis, and this one on the left was me trying to copy my draw over while also glancing at the Bomis. Because on these earlier ones that I did over here, stuff didn't turn out so good when I was warming up. So I want you guys to be drawing lots of skulls this week. I mean, lots, like just tons. Use the Loomis head stuff. In fact, we'll use the Loomis right now. I mean, I found the center line just following his center line, but let's maybe find kind of a Loomis head form in this a little bit. Maybe like this. Let's get rid of this. I'm gonna maybe just try to use a circle for this part and see how it goes a little bit. I'm just trying to understand a little bit of what he was doing. In my own way. So get that with a center line here. And we got this that's on the side plane of the head here. So I'm going to do like the back of the jaw kind of wrapping up over the head. Maybe continuing this line because I can see where the lines are going, where he shaded it over the form a bit. So I'll follow that. Then we get the side plane of the jaw here. You notice there's a lot of really interesting little plane changes going on here. Like it's like on here, for example. That you don't necessarily have to include that when you're doing these, but it's good to kind of like, I suppose, note them if you want. So the goal of this is to try to walk through this and kind of understand what's going on here on your own terms a little bit. Kind of observe things. Like you'll do multiples of these and kind of pick up on stuff. And I'm going to walk through this a little bit, mostly relying on my own observation, and then I can look at like this for a little bit and see. Actually, kind of like this. Here, I'm going to add this little kind of rhythm he included in the lay-in on the right. Actually, I think I will dance back and forth a little bit more. Look at this. Like, you can see different ways that he's sort of like played different rhythms of the face off each other as a system of memorization. Like that, we're going back all the way to the connecting up through the whole face. That's like a line. That's a line that's behind the face right here. But it's also connected to like what's happening over here on the outside of the skull a little bit. With the edge of the zygomatic arch. The zygomatic arch, by the way, is this thing right here. That's that bone that the hinge of the jaw attaches to at the side of the face. So let's draw that out because I want to kind of emphasize the perspective line that's going on there a little bit, just for my own sake. So one of the things about like the orbits and of the eyes on the skull is you can really kind of simplify them almost kind of like a pair of sunglasses on the face. You can see some of that going on here. A little bit. We'll get more into the simplifications of the form next week, but that's like a little taste, and you can pick up on some of them from doing the observation drawing this week. So I get this kind of angle here to the on either side actually to. So it's kind of doing like this sort of thing, sort of connecting to each other like that. The angles on the front. Yeah, see, look, he used that right there. Sort of an anchor point for what's going on there, I think. Yeah. Mind you, what I'm studying here is not an anatomically accurate per se skull. It is a simplified, stylized skull that is designed to help understand the planes of the skull. That's why you want to combine this with observation and breaking down and like real actual skulls. So I'm doing kind of this right here. Like this is not a flat shape that I'm drawing, by the way. This down here is coming out towards us. This is actually, I think, a flat shape that he simplified right here. But bottom of that nose is actually shutting out a little bit, I believe. And this is a side plane out here. Like, I think I have a good example of this somewhere down here. This was the more intuitive drawing of what's going on, of what is kind of going on with the nose. But the general idea is that, like, the nose bone kind of does this sort of thing. And then, like, the nostrils kind of go over that. And we'll go into features in more detail in the future, too. But that's just something to be aware of what's going on with the nose. Now this whole area right here has always been a problem area for me because this gets really complicated. You got your tooth cylinder here. There's kind of like half cylinder that's like going through where the teeth are, but then like going out back a little ways where the teeth are not. And then it kind of like becomes more cubic at the sides here. With this little triangle wedge for the chin that he had. He has like a very simple triangle chin there. So if you notice, you can use the Loomis rhythms right here for something like this. So we got this right now, right? And then the angle that this head is going, we got kind of like, this is kind of like a little bit of a, let's see. Well, we can kind of figure out what the angle of the head is following the top of the zygomatic arch, because that's generally, when it's simplified, that top part is generally pretty straight. Let's see what he did here, actually. I think it kind of, yeah. I think he actually is angling the head like this. That's what's going on. So I was kind of off from that. That doesn't seem right to me. Like, I don't think the top of the ears would be there. I'm going to use my own judgment here. And I might be off horribly, so I'm just going to use the zygomatic arch as a reference point, kind of wrap over here. Those are the kind of problems you wind up wrestling with this stuff. Maybe I can use the Sketchfab to kind of work that out a little more. Let's see here. I'm not sure if I can get quite the same angle he did, but something like that maybe. whoops, and then on this, like it kind of wraps over right here, and then like goes to the side plane there a little bit, I think. Because there is some perspective happening in this that's warping a bit. Maybe if I zoom back. Yeah, that's straight. Curve, straight. And the top of the ear would be about there. But anyway, I can use my judgment a little bit here, I think, because I know like that's basically the ear hole down there. So I'll kind of guesstimate about where I think the ear would be there, and then in addition to that, you can use the rhythms of the jaw connection here from the side plane of the head down through the corner of the cheekbone there, down to the chin, like that. We can do the same on either side as well. So if this was actual flesh on the person's face, it might be a little like, might be doing a little something like that. So let's get a little bit more out of this. He really likes to put these little kind of corner points here. Michael Hampton, who I was studying from, who does things a little bit differently, he likes doing this kind of like wedge shape, and this actually happens on the Loomis head that we're going to be studying from next week. But it's like this kind of kind of like this bridge arch, and you even have this little like of a keystone here for this part of the that part of the brow. There's a little bit of that keystoning going on here, but it's not as pronounced in the study that I did from Michael Hampton. I do know that Bomis does have some examples of that little arch stone and other things. So anyway, just going to follow what's on here for the jaw, although I do have some stuff on the jaw. Let's add some more of the tooth cylinder here. Kind of feeling out and trying to understand things. I mean, the goal with doing studies like these is to pull a few things to understand from it. The same thing's going to happen when you're doing copy studies, and when you're doing drills, trying to walk through the steps of constructing this stuff, or when you're trying to draw from photos or from real life. Like the goal should, when you sit down to do these, should be like to try to do better every time if you can, but to understand like a couple things with each sitting. And also not to like really race through these. These should be taking these as slow as you need to, and try to digest them and redo them and retry them. Like I might come back to this because this is a master draftsman making these. This would be worth to study multiple times for sure. Yeah, there's a draw over there. I might do a little draw over into this, but I kind of got what I need out of that one over there. I sort of feel like if I try to go too far into kind of trying to reverse engineer what he's doing here, it might kind of throw me off a bit. But I do like, if you notice here, establishes these kind of lines that would work in whatever your perspective is. And I think there is actually supposed to be perspective on this, judging from how the lines are going. Like there's a vanishing point over that way, so that means there'd be another vanishing point involved here somewhere. Probably want to say we can kind of figure out where the horizon line is going to be, and then we can probably work out where the vanishing point is going to be too. But yeah, so that's that study. Let's move on to another one. Let's see, maybe we'll try to do a photo this time. So let me bring up skull photos again. Ooh, actually there's a really good one here that's not a photo. There's a couple of really good ones here that are not photos. Hold on to these. Here, I'll show them on stream real quick. So there's this one. That's really nice. It's even like fleshy planes of the face. Like this is the kind of studies I really want to get further into in the future when I get more mileage under my belt for sure. This is really nice from what I can see. Yeah, you can see like them breaking down the proportions of the face and the simple geometric forms of it. There's bits of Bombus in this for sure. I think this might have been done by someone though. I don't know if this would be too valuable to study from because there might be some warping going on or mistakes going on here that might not be good to learn from. But I'll find out real quick. Those might be studies of Bombus or something. I cannot find the original source of this, but the page looks pretty good. At the very least, like, it shows some good examples of like how to study the head. So I can't vouch for this page necessarily, but I'm going to post it in chat. This one I'm going to... I can vouch for this one though. I'll post that one in chat. So let's see here. Skull turn around. Skull turn around. So we got this. And we got this. This one I think I might want to favor doing. I'm going to post that one in chat. Yeah, that one's really nicely lit. It's contrasting value. I'm going to post that in chat because I meant to post that earlier. So this will be our main study fodder right now. Someone's saying in chat that their Discord is down. We'll just Google image search for skull turnaround, and you should be able to find it. And and when your Discord is back up, you'll be able to find the images again. They'll be in the classroom chat. And I'll type the name in Twitch chat for you, Gottfried Bombus. 1 second. Oh, I typed in the wrong chat. Here, 1 second. Gottfried Bombus. That's the name of the main artist that you want to take a look at it, and I think it's Michael Hampton. Hampton is the other one. Alright, so this guy, the skull is sitting down. like laid back and stuff, as opposed to like if this was a person, it'd be kind of like looking up or whatever. But yeah, we can use this. First things first, I'm gonna maybe try putting this head in a box. I kind of liked what that other study was doing. So maybe I'm going to try putting this head inside of a 3D box. Something like this. It's all the way down to the jaw. Kind of guess where the angle is there from that a bit. Of course, the back angle is going to be the same as the front. There's not really any significantly distorted perspective on this. Alright, so maybe I want to add some more to the side here. But I think it should be good, actually. I'll just keep it like that. I think it's looking a little thin, though, on the back compared to the front. Yeah, that should be here. Or here. I'm just doing this quick. I'm not really too worried about getting completely accurate. It's kind of a warm-up taste. So I'll just do like a quick draw over here to kind of get a feel for the skull. So maybe use two shapes to simplify the skull. Something like this, like that. And then we get, that's like for the overall kind of egg of the head, sort of. And then we get like this kind of face mask egg sort of thing going on here for the front of the head. It's connected to the other one. It curves over the top like that. And you can kind of sense out the curves by seeing how like the jaw curves a bit and how the top of the head sort of curves. So let's maybe drop down the center one here. Something like that. And the reason why it's there instead of like out here is because the teeth are the teeth in the nose are kind of bulging off what would be like a flat front to this face. So you get like the top of this kind of sunglasses arch thing here, and on the side here we'll get some kind of a simplified shape going on here connected to the zygomatic arch. Let's see. For the corner of the cheek. It's connected there, I believe. And we get this little keystone shape here for the brow. I'm getting kind of a 3D sort of shape for the whole of the nose here. Maybe even use the center line to kind of wrap over the front of it like that. This is where the center line is projected on the front of the face here. So actually use the between the two front teeth maybe as a guideline here. Like that. Add that little kind of triangle wedge that Godfrey Bomas was using on the chin there. And then I can bow this inwards for the jaw, from my draw over. Another thing that I'll point out here is that those two interlocking shapes, kind of like this, that can be useful for telling you what direction the head is facing. That's too, but like in a figure quick sketch session, those can be too complicated shapes to draw. I mean, it's also good to practice Loomis head stuff for a quick sketch session as well. Kind of like that. But those can get overly complicated. Another thing you can do is you can use this kind of simplified sailboat shape like that. That's maybe the figure model that we're using has a little ponytail. You just got a quick indication of a head for figure quick sketch session. The reason why I bring that up is because I use two big kind of simplified shapes like that. Another thing I could have done is I could have done this, or I could do this right now actually, where I kind of use that sort of sailboat wedge shape to describe the direction of the face with fewer lines than like breaking down the side plane and everything. It's just another way of quickly indicating something when you're quick sketching, or when you're trying to like just get a figure started or something. Let's maybe get a little bit more out of this. I want to add more of an indication of the side plane of the head here. So we got, oops, I'm drawing directly on that, aren't I? Okay. Get more of the side plane of the head going in here. Something like that there. And maybe I want to like connect this rhythm up here of the jaw like all the way up to the top of the head, just for the heck of it. You kind of feel out stuff a little bit like what Bomis had, of like these kind of oval planes inside the different sections of the head. So got above and below here for this kind of sunglasses effect going on. A little bit more of the cheekbones there, a little bit more of the front of the teeth. Get like a little bit of cylinder action going on here for the two-cylinder. Since the jaw is closed right now, I'm going to use this line right here. Kind of connect through the zygomatic arch for simplifying the shape. Right there. Yeah, this area right here is really tricky. When it's closed, you can find rhythms like that for it. When it's open, it hinges like there. Kind of like this. It's hinging back there too, so maybe let's try to get some of this back in here a bit. It's not going to be accurate, but we'll just play with it. Kind of wrap our heads around this, what's going on here. So what we got here, I'm going to use a different color. So there's kind of like this going on here, with this coming off the that part of the two-cylinder here. terminating at about an angle here, I think, and coming over the side here and fusing to the skull back there. You can see more of it when it's looking straight on if we got a good photo example somewhere here, but I think I got one down here that might work a little better from the front. So you get kind of this thing going on where it's like fused to the back of the skull a little bit. Anyway, so the way this works on a face, here's a really simple version of this. I'll just do orange real quick for the muscle. There's on the side plane of your head. There's like this big old muscle here that actually like connects under and through the zygomatic arch and wraps around the underside of your jaw. Open and close your jaw, basically. That's why when you chew, you can feel the muscles at the top, at like the sides of your skull, flexing when you clench your teeth, reopen and close. So yeah, that's a good thing to keep in mind. Here, let me show you. Head, muscle, anatomy, jaw open. Maybe that'll show us a good example. Well, at the very least, we can see some of the muscles here that I'm talking about. There is that, see, it's like hooking under and through the jaw. This is really super simplified 3D model there. Yeah, there it is, and then it connects down under this side of the jaw, like that. Here's a good example, right here. So that's something to keep in mind. That whole side plane right there, with the sides of the sphere you kept chopping off, that's where all that muscle goes. That opens and closes your jaws. Maybe hold on to that. That's a neat picture. Alright, let's see if there's anything I can really get out of this. I mean, we've kind of done a 3/4 with that. You can see this spring right here is basically serving the same function as that muscle would normally, in terms of like making this a useful piece of reference where the jaw won't fall off. Alright. So does anyone have any questions? Well, I believe voice chat is working still. Yeah, voice chat should still be working. Does anyone have any questions? Are you drawing your skulls? If you're drawing your skulls, please post some skulls. I would like to see your skulls. Let's maybe do this little kind of potato shape here while I'm waiting on people to maybe start drawing their skulls. Potato shape for the back of the head. In the future, we'll go way more in-depth on anatomy stuff. Right now, we are trying to just get like an intuitive overview of this and connect it up with the Loomis things we did, and use a lot of observation. Like, you'll get a smattering and get little tidbits. The idea is that you'll be doing a lot of self-driven study, trying to find stuff this week, and you'll be picking up on tidbits of anatomy knowledge from what you find. and just by observation. Like Godfrey Baum's studying from him alone would be excellent. If like you did nothing but Godfrey Baum studies for this next week, that'd be fantastic. But try to build off what we've been doing, like incorporate elements of the Loomis head in your construction. I see people posting their sweet skulls. I'll bring some of that on stream, actually. Let's see here. Yeah, this one's getting a little bit too caught up in detail right there, and getting kind of warpy. I would do some raw boots. I would do some drawovers to kind of orient yourself to the proportions. That will definitely help. Let's see here. Somebody trying to follow along with my demo. It's pretty good. I mean, you can follow along with the demo, but yeah, don't necessarily try to copy what I'm doing, because the goal is for you to understand. But you can try like finding the stuff and what's going on there. Yeah, this one's more of a copy study. This one I would not recommend doing. I would want you to learn how to construct, not copy square by square like this. I see like kind of a grid going on here for copying. I wouldn't probably not want to do that. This is also looking a little flat too. There is some stuff going on here that I like, that started with kind of this Loomis head and angles and so on. I would do maybe a draw over, several drawovers, until you start to feel comfortable with it and simplifying the shapes. Remember, the goal of this is to understand. It's not to make pretty drawings. So you'll be going back and forth from doing drawovers and kind of copy studies, breaking down the shapes and stuff. I might do some copy studies in a bit after I feel a little more comfortable with this. What, for this one? The Procreate one that I was just looking at?
No, you'll see mine later on down the bottom.
Oh, that wasn't yours? Okay. This one looks like they're following along. This one actually looks like it has some dimensionality to it. I see some of the two-cylinder going on there, trying to work that out. That's good. Yeah, there's little bits of warpy stuff going on, but it's okay. This is like dipping the toes and trying to construct these things. This one is also trying to follow along with breaking stuff down, sort of riffing. The plane change on the jaw could be better, and the two-cylinder could be better, but that's okay. This is a nice little pen sketch, sort of like making thumbnail notes. Let's see. Yeah, these are little quick studies. It looks like this is good. This is a good way to kind of get tuned into doing this stuff. You definitely want to slow down stuff, but it's a good idea to do lots of little warm-ups like this for sure. Let me show you what I was doing today to try to get warmed up. I wasn't even drawing skulls. I was doing something even simpler. But I'm trying a new approach to like my practice and my warm-ups lately. I'm gonna put it on screen real quick. Of like iterative practice. And so like this morning, like yesterday, I hardly drew at all. Yesterday, I just didn't really feel like doing it. I just wanted to chill. I did do some sketching, but not very much. So this morning I was coming back super rusty. So like all I did was just like a bunch of just random stuff like this. There's another couple pages like this on another file. But I'm trying a thing now where I like pick a subject and then I do like at least a few different versions of it on a sketchbook page. Like here's me just doing like a circle and some drop lines for the brow and the crisscross of the front of the face for like a Loomis head without the sides. So there's a bunch of random kind of face directional heads and some shoulders and stuff. But doing the same thing over and over again. So this is like kind of a loose warm-up approach where I don't really care about drawing quality at all. I'm just trying to get warmed up a little bit. So they're all crummy drawings, and that's okay. But I want to use that approach more when I'm doing memorization, and so that is a little kind of what I was doing when I was also getting more into this. So I think this is the first skull drawing I did today. I kind of messed up the eyes and had to slide them over a bit. You can see where I chopped them out. They were a little bit too close together. This one also has some of the same problems the first one did. I think the most recent ones I did are these two right here. But I was doing the same thing over and over again because I wasn't getting the result I wanted, or feeling my way through doing the frontal drawing until this one. This one I felt pretty good about, even though this side is a little bit kind of off a bit. Could be beefed up a little bit with the symmetry going on there. So I did that. So that's okay right now. So this is satisfyingly enough of the homework. I think I did this at some point, but then this is an example of iterative practice. I'm doing more skulls, basically, and working my way through the different skulls and different angles. And if I get stuck on a particular skull, I might do it again, or do it from a different angle, or just if I want to reinforce what I'm learning from them, I'll do more of them. And I can maybe even do more directed stuff. Like if I really wanted to really commit this shit to memory, I would okay, I'm just gonna do I'm gonna fill up about 10 quick, maybe a little simpler versions of this kind of skull that I can go through quicker. And fill up a page. The artist that I was inspired to do this by is a guy named Sikra, who's a YouTuber. I'm going to link him in chat. But he's got a few videos on an iterative. Whoops, sorry, one second. He's got a iterative approach to drawing video. Where he just kind of rough loose examples of the sort of things you should be doing when you're practicing. Depending on what you're doing, you might want to do way better defined versions of what he's doing here. But he gives examples of how you can use this for compositions, you can use this for coloring, you can use this for figure drawing or prop drawing and stuff. You can do it by subject and subject. I'm doing it for Stellas today. You can you don't even have to do a whole page of them. You can let's pretend that I'm more warmed up than I was when I did this. That I did these crummy little sketches. I'd probably develop these more or something into actual drawings and make a nice sketch page or something when I get further along in doing this method. So, and I'm hoping this week I'll be able to have pages with nice little color and value studies on characters that have more worked out faces than these kind of loose gestural things that I'm doing here. So yeah, I wanted to impress upon you folks here an approach to study, approach to doing your studies of not just doing one skull, but doing several. And you can do that sort of repetitive practice for anything. Just it didn't turn out quite so good. Let's try another one, and so on. You can try to correct your drawings too. But it's actually, in my opinion, it's better to do kind of loose, not completely worked out, but get what you are going to get maybe one or two things out of it before moving on approach. Versus spending 20 hours on one skull or something. So you should still slow down and try to take this stuff slowly so you can absorb it. People are posting Skeletors. That's hilarious. All right, so.
I told you my ADHD got the better of me on that one.
Okay. I mean, it's fun. It's good to have fun. That's actually not too bad of a copy of Skeletor. I'm gonna come down hard on you for the not working out the torso though, or the hood, but the skull is kind of because you're looking at skulls, I see it coming through a little bit. But yeah, you're kind of like making the proportions of the teeth kind of really weird, and the nose. There's warpy stuff going on in your skulls, so do some draw-overs to kind of reorient yourself. I mean, it's totally fine to distort the skulls when you're doing like cartoon skulls later, but we try to get some accuracy, and that's the other thing, folks. If you are able to orient yourself pretty well from like repetitive practice on more accurate skulls, feel free to play and have fun with making cartoon skulls or like really distorted skulls or creature skulls or other things. Just have some fun with it. This one looks like it's a draw over. Pretty good draw over. This one's got kind of a warpy thing going on with the face sort of sliding forward down right there at an angle. So maybe compare that to, if that was a copy of study of the Bombus, I would overlay that on top of the Bombus and see what you got wrong. These are pretty crude, but I like what you're starting with this. It's clear that you have, this is pretty new to this, so you're kind of still gonna need to wrap your head around this. But yeah, warm up. Yeah, you're right. These are definitely warm ups. You're kind of thinking in the right direction of what you need to practice. I would say the next step would be to do some draw overs to try to find those dimensional shapes. The other reason why you do those draw overs is because you get in your bloodstream a little bit more of some of the accuracy that's going on here. It's kind of like holding a piece of putty or an action figure in your hands or something, and then feeling out its general shapes or something when you do these draw overs like this. I'm doing a faster, looser one here now, just to kind of play with it. Oh, I got my 2-cylinder here, for example. Oh, I got sunglasses here. So you can do these at slow or speedy pace. Whatever you think you're going to get value out of. And you can vary up the tempo sometimes, like what I'm doing here. Like I've been drawing these skulls really slowly for most of the day, so now I'm feeling a little bit more intuitive about it. So I kind of feel like I want to maybe even be more intuitive in my draw overs and kind of loose and scribbly, but still kind of following the shapes. So I get more information that I'm going over in here than I would when I was on the slower side, but I couldn't get there without doing those longer, tougher drawings first. Anyway, so check this out. I've been looking at those Bombus things where he simplifies the underside of the head, so I'm maybe going to try to, like, without looking at his thing, try to think about how he simplified those drawings that I saw, and try to maybe get some kind of, like, thing going on there with how I draw over on this. Let's get this side plane in here. At very least I got this back angle here. I'm not too sure about the front of this jaw though. But let's maybe do this. Let's include this is where the spine inserts to the skull right there. It's sort of a simplified shape version of what happens at the base of the skull that I'm going to add here. These little things that kind of stick out a bit. But you can see a simplified version of it in the planes of the skull sketchfab thing, if you look. What's happening here isn't quite accurate to what happens on the underside of a skull, but like that right there is a little bit. But yeah, there's some screwy things happening there that don't quite happen on a real skull, just to be aware. Here I got some DMs. I'll take that off stream real quick. Answering a couple questions I got in DM. Alright. Somebody asked in DMs where these streams are. I'm not sure if they were asking about the stream right now or if they were asking about the later recordings of them. But the later recordings are I'm gonna be more rapid about recording and uploading uploading the Twitch streams quicker to YouTube. So those will be. If you want a link to YouTube in Discord, just click my profile. Click my profile, and there's a YouTube link there. Yeah, this is really nice. Maybe I'll do a couple more intuitive drawovers here, and then we'll see what we can do from here. I'm just kind of playing with what I'm comfortable with right now, because I already got some mileage today doing like copy drawovers. I might be warming myself up a bit more to do demos of.
You can't hear in this voice chat, right?
What's that?
Oh, you can hear in this voice chat?
Yeah, I can hear in Discord. People can talk back.
Sorry,
as long as it's not excessive talk over, people are welcome to ask questions or even reiterate questions from chat. In fact, right now, if anyone has any questions to ask, please feel free to speak up. Got a side plane there, top of the head there, front of the head there, back plane here. And that's kind of playing with the stuff we saw in the Bombus, the Gottfried Bombus pictures. Let's put that guy on screen again. So, like, there's no way you're gonna like take in all this information at once. Not even today or whatever. The point of doing this is to just take a little bit of it in every time you do it. So throughout this week, just try to get in the habit of doing like skulls, some skulls every day. I mean, if you're going to be drawing characters, you're always going to be drawing heads, so that would be a time to fit in a little bit of skulls. If you're doing art commissions, maybe you kind of work out some skull stuff for the character, or do some warm-ups of some skulls before you get started on the character, for example. What's that?
So I had a question about the profile view. Since with the skull, it's not actually a true circle, but the loose hits that apply in this case, we actually have to.
Yeah, it would apply. I mean, you can kind of like see some examples from some of the simplifications that go on in Bombus and some other things here. Let me find one. Let me find a good one. But you're right. The skull cavity kind of becomes a little bit of a potato shape. So what's going on with the Loomis head? I'll show on screen real quick. I'll do a Loomis head demo real quick to show off this principle. So we gotta start a Loomis head in the profile, right here. Drop down your normal crisscross pattern here. You can use the back of the head to find the angle of the jaw a bit. Find like about the hairline somewhere up there. Front of the face kind of does a little C curve. S curve, or S curve actually. S curve over here. So what's going on with the bottom of the skull is something a little bit along the lines of this. Here, I'll maybe make it blue to kind of show. So So the other area starts to become more like this. I mean, maybe add a little bit of that part of the jaw that kind of chunks out that way. So I mean, like, there's more going on to the head from trying to make it more like an anatomical skull from a Loomis head. I mean, that was always going to be the case, but it's probably a good idea for me to show more of it now, for sure. Anyway, you can also use your rule of thirds to find the bottom of the nose bone, right there. Bottom of the chin there. So the cool thing about the tooth cylinder is you can also use the rule of thirds on it as well. Here, let me actually look at some profile skill reference real quick to maybe kind of turn my brain onto this real fast. Looking for a good profile thing that kind of shows some of this, so I can wrap my head around it a little bit more. Here we go, some bombus. Hope I can find a good. Oh dear. Oh, it's one of those sites. Jesus Christ, where I click through on Pinterest, and it just makes me walk through a bunch of garbage. Maybe I'll use this. That's what I'm using. I just need something that has a good profile that I can kind of mess with a bit. So generally the tooth cylinder can also be measured by thirds too, or the parts of the teeth here. So the way that the thirds on this usually works is, let's see, I believe the tooth gap, tooth gap comes up about here, I think. No, that's the top of the lip. But okay, well, yeah, this is an area where it starts getting into anatomy measurements that I need a little refresher on. But basically, like the idea that's going on here is that you can kind of measure where the sections of the teeth are going to be from this. I think actually it's going to be more like the teeth go up a little bit higher, I think, than there, and a little bit lower here. Be nice if I found a Gottfried Baumann's profile image that measures this. Let's maybe do some research real quick to find a good profile image of how he breaks down the proportions of the teeth. Because this turns out to be a little bit of a blind spot for me, and I want to make sure I want to dig through this real quick. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Alright, so it's this. I'm going to copy that one in chat. this one over so I can have something to look at. Alright, so the way he breaks it down, alright, so we got the halfway point going about through the orbit of the eye, somewhere there. Maybe more about here-ish, come to think of it. Let's see here, I'll break up my rule of thirds a little bit better so that I can get a more kind of measured approach here. So the top of the brow is actually going to be, the hairline is going to be about here-ish, I want to say. Oh wait, okay, so he measures to the top of the skull. That was what was throwing it off. Alright, so the way Balmas does his proportions on that page is like this. Cuts that in half. And then he uses the rule of thirds on this. Be about here. Okay, so where he puts about where he puts the gap in the jaw and between the teeth is if there's a midpoint about here, he puts it like just slightly above. Just going to follow what he's done a little bit. Yeah, you're seeing live literally what the thought process is that I go through when I encounter a blind spot in my understanding of the skull, basically. I try to find some reference that might help me think through this a little bit. I may want to find some other reference because I do know that there are ways to kind of measure out the parts of the teeth into kind of a third sort of thing. But at the very least, I just kind of wanted to get like something in the ballpark. That's the other thing. Like you kind of have to like start to learn to rely on your judgment. There are systems of measurement you can use to reorient yourself and to structure how you do things, but there's a lot of times when you're going to be flying blind, and the stuff that you have repetitively studied is going to be your fallback to reorient you and to come out intuitively from all the hours you've clocked in, repeating this stuff, analyzing this stuff, thinking through this stuff. Build off some more of the head back here. So I'm modifying the Loomis head right now to be more like Balmas's. And you can do that when you're doing these studies. You don't strictly have to follow Loomis. You're going to want to be combining these things together to work through problems. That's the goal here. You will also be like using repetitive systems and stuff when we get more formulaic with some other things in the future, but I want to get more people exposed to the idea of kind of like cross-referencing different approaches to drawing by observation and trying to think through stuff and like reverse engineer what an artist is doing from observation and trying to apply that to photographs you're going to be looking at, and try to think through things for yourself, in addition to these studies from other artists. Try to think how you can apply things you've seen those artists do that you've kind of done copy studies on. Copy studies or drawer studies. This is a copy study right here of Bomis that was done on top of my Loomis head. And it's a very quick study, so I'm not too worried about being terribly accurate. Just kind of getting a little dipping my toes of this Bomis study. And later in the week, maybe even tomorrow, when I have more time to really sit down with this stuff, I'll be able to maybe even slow down even more when I have even more concentration built up. Because I was coming back rough today. I had a good week last week. Like, my concentration skills built up even more. And that is what led to me doing some of what I'm going to show in a second here. Where's the other Clip Studio stuff? That's from the perspective class. Yeah, it's from the perspective class we did in storyboarding. Do not save. Let's see, perspective stuff. Quick sketch notes. I think that's it. Yeah, here we go. So we can get rid of those. Okay, so this is what I was doing last week. I was doing reels of this guy, and we are going to get into this later. Not now, but later. I'm preemptively studying this though, so I'll have this a good ways along. I'll have this stuff a good ways along when we get to it. But these are Riley method quick sketch rhythms on a turnaround. Whoops, those are some other studies, and you can see I'm doing the same iterative process of trying to digest and understand this stuff. Like last week, I was doing this while watching an instructor demo and looking at a workbook packet of like seeing how he breaks down the rhythms and so on. So this is kind of a future preview of the stuff we're going to be doing when we get further along down the figure. Yeah, this is me both copying and trying to riff on the instructor, getting a lot of things wrong. Not hugely confident compared to the instructor. Some additional stuff there. You can see a little bit of some of me combining what he's doing with some Loomis things. These are really kind of chunky and awful right here, but I mean, you do stuff like this and then try again. Which is what I did here. So some of these are kind of lopsided, but I was starting to get a little bit better results. And this is probably the best. This one right here was probably the best figure that came out of that little session. I did a bunch of these and stuff afterwards, just for the heck of it, while I was just vibing. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, that stuff is a bit of a preview of what we're going to get into much later. For now, we're going to be working on mastering the head. Yeah, I'm proud of these studies because they weren't draw-overs. Those are good studies, and then as I get more confident in my lines, they'll get less and less sketchy, like that. So let's get back to this Bomis study I was doing. There's some proportional things of how Bomis breaks up the head that I'll maybe do on this new layer here. I just kind of want to play with what he's done on the page that I already posted in chat. Just kind of get an overview of what he's done to break down the proportions of the face. That's not quite right, I don't believe. This is... The edge of the jaw doesn't go there. It goes more about here, according to him. This is just a sketch. I'm not quite measuring it. I'm not too sure about that. Maybe I have to lengthen out part of the head in order to make that work to the sketch or something. He does indicate a little bit of an ear here, just above the eye line right there. Yeah, I'm just kind of playing with this to like digest just a little bit of Bomis. Maybe I can dip into him more tomorrow to do something more in depth with with whatever I think I would get some value out of for him. Interesting. So rule of thirds applies here for sure. Anybody have any questions, by the way? Questions, comments?
So, kind of going back to the foundation example, is that something we like to kind of for simplification, or do you think that's...
The which one?
Like the foundation example of like Skeletor.
Skeletor? Yeah. Well, what about Skeletor? I'm sorry.
I mean, would that simplification be too advanced, or is it too simple?
Well, there's kind of like stuff that can throw you off in it, and also because those drawings were a little bit sloppy that were in the actual show. The thing is like there were some amazing master draftsmen who actually worked on that show, but they had to work really fast. So there's a lot of kind of sloppy, shortcutty things going on. I mean, like if you want to design a kind of more worked out and dimensional skull without really using stuff from the actual He-Man show as reference, that would be kind of fun to do. But I don't think I would want people to study from the actual He-Man show. Let me see here. There is some He-Man art I've seen that is pretty good though. He-Man concept art.
I know a lot of it was based on Frank's Rosetta's art.
Yeah, it definitely was. To the point of that, I think Frank might have tried to sue them at some point or something. Anyway, so like this is even like the concept art. I would probably not necessarily study from this because this is not. This is pretty wonky. This is good for concept art, and or like something that you might see in a heavy metal magazine from the late 70s, early 80s or something. But I mean, it's kind of janky, so I wouldn't really want to use them to study. But for inspiration for your concept work, probably. Oh, this is considerably better. This is more like a comic book, a modernish comic book He-Man. That's pretty good. Don't know if I'd necessarily study from this because this is kind of like a mask, kind of warpy stuff going on here. It's like a person wearing a mask almost. Here's a really cool concept-y designy Skeletor though. I think those were supposed to be official live action or either live action or fan art concept designs for He-Man. Oh yeah, it's a concept artist who made those for fun. He did some pretty interesting stuff with heads. Like the one of the He-Man characters that has like a, I forget what this guy's called, but yeah, he's like a, he had multiple faces that would switch around. That's his toy gimmick, basically. Oh, this is considerably better though. This is by Mobius actually for the Master of the Universe movie. So that's what's his face? The guy who I'm brain farting for him, but a famous like C-list muscle man actor, kind of in the Arnold Schwarzenegger era. Dolph. I think Dolph is his first.
Dolph something. Yeah, Dolph something.
Yeah. Brain farting for him when I should know. Dolph Lundgren. Lundgren. My pronounced brain is not working today.
I think Alex Ross is one of a couple He-Man pieces.
Yeah, actually, let's look at Alex Ross, because he has very clear skull shapes in the heroes that he draws. That you could actually pick out skull anatomy from. Maybe let's do that a little bit. He-Man. No. Excuse me. No. Yeah, okay. Sorry, pizza's here. Sorry, a pizza that we ordered arrived. I'll be getting in on that after this. What time is it? It is 7:16. We started at 5:30, so yeah, we're not too far from ending the class. Maybe let's do a couple studies. It's an Alex Ross homage that some comic artist type guy did. But yeah, these are some Masters of the Universe stuff that Alex Ross did. It's definitely a very distinct skull shape through He-Man's head. As for Skeletor, this is probably not the best thing to practice from, because the inherent problem with Skeletor is like much of the skull shape is covered up by his hood. That's a little better there, I'd say.
I think the reason why actually they couldn't figure out how to connect the neck into a floating skull.
Yeah, well, they wanted to make him like a real like necromancer kind of guy or whatever, but like they had to reuse the same toy molds, and also like it made it trickier to draw over and over again, the anatomical detail. I'm very interested in seeing how Powerhouse handles Skeletor's design, because he was based on the concept artist who created Skeletor. Skeletor was based on an encounter the designer had as a kid with a haunted house corpse that was an actual corpse. When he saw it, it was like like everything else in the haunted house was like kind of cheap scares and stuff. And then like he saw this, it was like one of those like jump scare corpses that they like dangle out or something on a wire or whatever. When he saw it, he was like, "Oh my God, that's an actual dead body." And it turns out that it was an actual mummified dead body that had been like no one was really quite sure where they got a hold of it, but it was like a non-interred mummified corpse that just wound up in this haunted house for ages. And, that childhood encounter is what that fear that was in that kid was what inspired Skeletor, and that kind of fear is something that I hope that the Powerhouse folks are able to tap into.
So the documentary on Netflix, The Toys That Made Us, I believe in that they do like a staged enactment of that, which is why I'm looking really forward to that. Anyway, so like what I'm kind of thinking I'll do is go back through these kind of sketchy things I did, and with like a darker line. There'll be a very Ethan Becker approach to my unsure lines, and maybe fix some of the things that I think are kind of errors. Like I think the top of the skull needs to be built out a little bit more.
for example. And you can go back through your own drawings and do this kind of thing, like fix your errors. That's another thing. You can double up on your iterative drawing. Like later on, I could do something like I could go back through and like start like adding in eye shapes and adding noses and lips, sculpting in lips and so on, adding in ears, adding in hair, and a neck. I can make that part of my iterative drawing in order to understand this. And if you want to this week, you can play with this kind of stuff. I think I should actually list the homework right now, so bear with me real quick. So mind you, the homework is just suggestions. I want you to go beyond or figure out for yourself what would be the best value for you. But let's see. Homework week. Keep practicing your Loomis heads, but use them as a foundation for building skull. Actually, that's more of a principle. Specifically, the Loomis heads, like 1 to 3 pages should be it. Yeah, that should be it. 1 to 3 pages. You will be using the Loomis heads no matter what you do, but use this with I think that works. Alright, so next one would be draw these skulls. Draw over studies of skulls, either from existing art, reference photos of skulls, or draw over skulls, either from existing art, reference photos of skulls, or life reference from models you might have. Copy studies of skulls would be building off of number 2, where you can literally like do a draw over study of the skull and then try to do a copy study after or something. Same. Drawn over. So those are the 3 main things. Suggested artists to learn from. Gottfried Thomas. Sarah Simblett, Elliot Goldfinger. You can Google image search for like skull and then search the artist name and you can find this stuff. I think that number 2 should be a combination of number 3, and I think number 3 should be 5 toes turn around of a skull. Front. I'll make that 1 to 6 pages. Front. 3/4 back. I think Michael Hampton is the other guy. Yeah, Michael Hampton. Let's throw Alex Ross in there, because that'll remind you to do drawovers of Alex Ross heads or other similar things with clear head shapes. Why not? Alright, so there's your homework. I'll screenshot that for you to put up in chat. And of course, you can always go beyond what I'm posting here. You can find there's other artists that I haven't mentioned here, which would also be helpful to study from. But yeah. So let's maybe poke at this a little bit more. But we are pretty close to quitting time. I would like to answer any additional questions that people have before I get done, and maybe I'll just keep doing little studies and drawovers here to kind of play with this. So I'm going to try to like take this off in little chunks and kind of get comfortable with it again, because I'm getting back in the groove today. And I'm not going to stress out about getting a huge amount of mileage in today. I got a good amount of mileage on these heads, actually. So I'm going to vibe on these heads and see where I can go. So maybe after class ends I'll do some more. But I've got a whole day tomorrow with plenty of me time to study and practice. And yeah. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to speak up or repeat them in chat. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Construct it to the best of your ability. Like, honest on that thing. Like, try to get like the best array of skulls that you possibly can. So where those skull turnarounds are going, if you aren't quite satisfied with them when we get to the later phases of what we're making with those, you can always redo them. But let me show you where we're headed with this. Here, 1 second. And I plan on probably redoing them too. depending on things, because I'm not like completely back into. I'm not completely in drawing tune right now. But this is where we're headed with these. Like literally for this study, for this assignment that I did for a drawing class I was in, which is by Steve On, the Voltron storyboard director. The class I was in. This is This is the assignment that I did. This class where we week one we studied the skull and the head, and this is part of the head drawing stuff for week one, to do a turnaround of the head, and then we added the torso and the arms and legs and so on, and then we started doing the muscle groups, and working our way down through and stuff. So this is where I want us to head with this. Like we'll start just adding on to this, onto a guy like this. Like I want you to get the heads done to your best of your ability. If you notice in this, like these are the heads are probably the worst drawn thing on this, because I wasn't totally warmed up during that week. Especially this one. This one's really crummy. Also, please note, I do not recommend necessarily drawing every single rib on the rib cage. I did that on purpose because I was out of drawing shape, and I wanted to just literally just bust my butt challenging myself with something crazy stupid. Like for me personally, I'd probably find some way to drastically simplify that, just so I get the information in there without blowing a gap, without overdoing it. But yeah, this is where we're going to be heading. We're going to be basically making a mannequin where we'll run through all this basic construction of muscle groups and bones and stuff, and that's kind of what I'm doing here. Like these are already way better skull drawings than anything I've done previously. Some of this is like a mishmash of the Gottfried Baumitz stuff I was looking at, and other actual skulls and some drawing demos I was watching. Mainly the Baumitz though, because I'm trying to pull as much from Baumitz as I can right now. So I really am vibing him. We'll be coming back to Baumitz a lot more in the future, because there's a lot to pull from him. But yeah. Feel free to have fun, trying to see where the flesh goes on stuff. Some of the stuff that Michael Hampton does, for example, he does a lot of stuff like this. So feel free to kind of try to break down the shapes and mess with the anatomical layovers that you'll find of his stuff, and try to build these shapes. This is not that far off from the kind of stuff that we're going to be doing next week with the Asaro head. Like the Asaro head is what we're going to be doing next week for sure. Head. This guy. We'll be concentrating on the Asaro head. We'll be doing Asaro head next week, and also maybe some general planes of the face too. Go ahead. Sorry.
Where did we post our homework?
Yeah, there's a homework section. There's a homework section. You can post it in there for feedback. I necessarily won't always get to it because I'm running classes and everything, and I'm also doing these for free. Oh, that's the other thing. I gotta plug my shit. I should have done that at the beginning of class, cause just when there was more people here. It looks like somebody actually sent me a sub during the stream. I gotta thank Fried Spoon, who gave me a tier. Wow, this is my first non-Twitch Prime sub that somebody gave. They gave me gave out a tier 1 community sub gift to me. That's cool. I actually want to show people something before I get off stream here. So the best way to probably give me money is through my Ko-fi page, which is here, Ko-fi/SpaceDad, up there. I'll post it in classroom chat as well. The reason why is that Ko-fi doesn't take any overhead cost. It does. The only thing that's taking overhead cost for me is PayPal, which I use through Ko-fi currently, but I'll change that in the future. So this is what I'm currently working towards right here. I'm trying to raise money for a backup hard drive, 4 terabyte external backup hard drive, so I don't lose all of my art and classroom demos if hard drive fails. The next goal after this, I'm going to be using something called the 3-2-1 rule to back up all my shit. Where here I'll give a quick tutorial of what the 3-2-1 rule is for backing up your hardware. It's something that tech people use as a basic principle of backing up your work, and I think that this will be a good opportunity to teach people about this. But the 3-2-1 rule, let me get a better image of that actually. Something like that. But the 3-2-1 rule is you create 3 copies of your data, 1 primary and 2 backups. The primary one would be the one on my current hard drive and computer. You keep the data on at least 2 different types of storage media for the first 2 copies, and like a local drive, a NAS tape. Like you could maybe like store both of them on separate hard drives in the same PC, or separate hard drives in separate PCs when you're backing up your data. And you want a third one that's an offsite thing. The reason why you want one additional backup of all your stuff that is offsite is that in case there's a natural disaster or a fire or whatever, you're not going to lose like 10 years of artwork or something. So I'm actually planning on setting this up. I'm exploring options for the third one. So that's going to be what's going to happen after I get the first goal of making sure I have enough to afford the 4 terabyte Western Digital hard drive that I'm looking at. Let me see here. Western Digital 4 terabyte. I think this is it. Let's see, 4 terabyte external hard drive. Here we go. It's somewhere in there. I made the goal like overshoot here just in case it turns out that I might need a 5 terabyte, or just in case like the prices fluctuate. But sometimes these often go on sale. Any extra money that goes over my goal, it's going to go towards the next thing, the next budget thing, the thing that I'm going to budget with donations for. Yeah, it looks like some of these are on sale. They're sometimes being even cheaper than this. But I'm going to be getting one of these to use as a backup drive locally, and I might get a second one, and then store it. Like I'm looking at the step 3 of the 3-2-1 rule right now for options. Like one of them is that I use paid cloud storage with a monthly fee, but that can be pretty pricey. So I'm looking at possibly coordinating with my brother and his wife at their house. And setting up some kind of an offline online storage thing using that external hard drive where maybe I can back up my shit when my brother's around to help me back it up, like once every couple days or something. In the future, like when I start getting serious income, I actually want to like invest in like something called a NAS drive, which is great for multiple systems, and basically you can create your own home Netflix server and stuff to run video from anywhere you want to go, anywhere you go, and so on. But yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit of that. That's like what I'm going to be working towards with donations and stuff. The Twitch Prime stuff is going to be also counting when I get this, like when the money comes for those, they'll be added to my PayPal. But that the Twitch stuff, Twitch for affiliates takes about 45 days for that to process, so I can't really add that to what's been added currently to my goal just yet. But yeah. So anyway, I want to share that. So yeah, but any little bit counts. Like, the most desirable donation would be through the coffee, or for a direct PayPal donation. But Twitch stuff also helps too. And you get a sweet little pug emoticon to use on Twitch. Whoops. Anyway, so we're gonna probably wrap it up pretty soon. I'm just maybe doing a once over on this and see if anyone has any additional questions before I shut down. So what do people think of today's class? Is it pretty clear to understand, or is there any difficulty that people are already running into they might need some help on? And people who are newcomers to this, I would recommend you check out the previous class from last week that's on my YouTube, where we go over how to construct Andrew Loomis heads. And it's okay if you're a week behind in the homework. You will still be able to get feedback when you post in the homework feedback section on Ethan Becker's Discord. But I would strongly recommend concentrating at least for a week on the Loomis heads. But if you feel comfortable for it, you can jump right into the skulls, because I mean, observation drawing from skulls is always good. I'm glad people like the class. One other thing I wanted to make a note of, like, I'm still trying to feel out what my schedule is right now. Like, this is week 3 right now of me doing this. The first week was like kind of like the shotgun blast of me just trying to throw a bunch of stuff on the wall and see what sticks. The second week, I cut back severely on how many classes I would run during the day, because I started to realize I get more value out of the classes I teach when I have plenty of me time to do whatever I want to study and practice without worrying about demonstrating for a class. So that's what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, and that's what I did actually before this class. I did lots of studying and preparing. Like, my homework time was basically before this class today. And I really enjoyed that, actually. I got a lot out of doing my warm-ups today. And I'm glad that you all were here to enjoy the fruits of my warm-up labors of getting back into the groove after taking a little resty day yesterday. Yeah.
So, how do you want us to denote the teeth? Do you want us to do like a line like you do like in your sketches, just like for the top and bottom teeth, or do you want us to actually like draw out?
However you want to do it. You can try to pick out the teeth. We are not too concerned about anatomical anatomy, but you can play with studying anatomy as much as you want. We're going to have maybe a more in-depth thing on the anatomy of the skull in the future. Probably, if we do that, it will probably happen either in a more directed anatomy phase to this, or to a separate class. I think if we're doing that ambitious anatomy turnaround project, I would probably want to maybe cap off everything we've done with the head with some more in-depth anatomy stuff. But we'll see. I'm just kind of feeling out how to do this. I'm learning along with all of you here, by the way. Like, this is a glorified study group. These classes are a glorified study group for me. Like, it's structured so that I'm trying to build how I do my studies around these classes to learn and improve. Like, literally by teaching all of you here today, I just reinforced a bunch of stuff that I was studying today. And I did that last week, and that was always my goal all along. I wanted to teach other people in order to reinforce what I'm learning. So literally what I'm doing with all of you here, you should be doing with your friends and people you know. And even if you want to direct a little study group, kind of like what I'm doing in these classes, you can do it too. Yeah, sorry, I kind of ran off there. Was there anything else you wanted to ask, or there's anything else to clarify? Anything else I didn't clarify or ran over with that?
No more from me, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, there is a rule of 3 to the teeth. I wouldn't be too worried about that. Maybe just kind of, you might run across something that gets more specific about it. I have I have an intuitive understanding from observation of the T cylinder. I was trying to remember what the specific measurements were for it. There is ways to measure it, but generally, like the way that the rule of thirds works is, if you can look on screen, it actually works for the exterior of the mouth, not the interior. Like it's something like, I think this is kind of off a bit actually. It's something like the top of the lip here, the cleft of the chin, or the divot in the chin, right there. For the rule of thirds, something like that. But we don't have to worry too much about the features right now. We're going to be getting more into those when we start putting more skin onto the face. Like I said, this is kind of a shotgun blast of observation study, and encouraging people to dig through and get into the habit of trying to dig up their own study materials from the prompts, of course, that I gave, but maybe even go beyond that if they can. But try to use good like source material stuff. Like this skull that I'm drawing over right now is a good study aid. Well, you kind of probably would need to ask people that have a good eye for that sort of thing. I mean, like, if you see me around, you can show me some stuff and ask me if it would be worth it to study from something. The main hazard you want to avoid with doing that is sometimes there can be like stuff that's like simplified in ways that isn't really very clear, or stuff that is really kind of, or if an artist is making mistakes, you're going to absorb those mistakes without realizing it, basically. So I'd be steering clear of like kind of like Halloween mask looking skulls and stuff, for example, because those tend to get kind of warpy and strange. They're usually crappily made, with some notable exceptions. Like Halloween prop skulls are kind of generally bad. It's weird though. I have seen some Halloween prop skeletons and skulls that are almost anatomical reference looking things. But yeah, you want to be careful about that stuff. There's even some plastic skulls that are supposed to be used as artist reference that are terrible. But if anything else, that Sketchfab I linked that's in chat is that one is one I can recommend. You will run into the same problem. You'll run into the same problem as the Halloween mask stuff with some of the Sketchfabs, so watch out for those. What's that? Did you say? Did you have another thing to say?
Oh no, I wasn't sure if it said sketch.
No. Yeah, it was Sketchfab. The 3D thing that we were looking at.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That's all I got.
Let's maybe do a little itty bitty skull over here, real quick. Kind of bean heads that are intersecting to each other. I'm just kind of vibing right now. Just kind of doing an itty bitty little mini reiteration of what I did. I would love to see like whole sketchbook pages full up, traditional or digital, preferably both, this next week, with tons of people's skulls. I'll be checking in the homework section. I may actually do more feedback on the skulls this week, because I know for a fact that me doing draw-overs trying to correct people's mistakes on the skulls would be valuable for me to use as study fodder. And I would encourage the more relatively advanced people here to try to do that. Intermediate to advanced people who kind of know a thing or two about doing skulls right, to try to maybe give people feedback, because that's a good way to learn. You cannot, but if you do, try to let people know. I'm not too confident in this. This was just my try at doing the feedback. Just some suggestions and ideas. You know, kind of let people know that you're not 100% confident with it, but you took a shot at it. And the reason why you do that is well, first off, you humble yourself, but also you want to prevent someone who sees that feedback that you've given from absorbing bad information and maybe being critical of your feedback. People might give feedback of your feedback and do drawovers of your drawover. So we're almost just about out of time. We actually got pretty close to the 3-hour mark. I think it would be another half hour for the 3-hour mark or something. We started at 5:30, and it's almost 8 o'clock now. Yeah. Let me see here. Just curious how many people are still in chat. 36 people. It's pretty cool. Alright. So if anyone does anyone have any additional questions? If not, I will be ending the class shortly. Alright, so stick around for the congratulations screen and we'll conclude. There we go.
Congratulations! Congratulations! Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Thank you all.